to shout that out.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion over different ideas, and so it was fun. I mean, those board meetings, we have some really great people involved, and there are some fun conversations. But again, it's when you're choosing a show to be your first show, it's a difficult, very challenging thing to find something. But I think we were looking for something that was definitely family appropriate. We knew Willy Wonka would have a lot of children in it, but also it's a very challenging show in and of itself, and so it's quite an undertaking, but it's been well worth it now that we're getting to the production.
People obviously know the story a lot. Does the stage musical kind of, it follows the concept, obviously. How close does it follow, say, the screenplay, for instance?
Well, all the beautiful tricks in the Gene Wilder version definitely cannot happen on the stage live.
Right.
You know? Right. So you're not going to see a chocolate tube, a goose going up a chocolate tube, But it's the idea of the director's vision that was brought to the stage, where a chocolate river is actually Chinese silk, and it's brought out, and with sound effects, it really puts you in that mindset that I'm actually in the chocolate, and there's a chocolate river right there. So it's actually, it works.
And it really follows the book, quite a bit.
There's some modern,
there's some modern takes from the book, and so there's definitely familiarities with the book and some of the movies that people may be familiar with, the two of the movies that have been done, but definitely a very unique take on it from everything that I've seen.
Yeah, but the audience is receiving it very well, and so that's really great to see people coming on. They're like, I can't wait to get back in there to see the second act. So Ryan Nielsen, who's playing Willy Wonka, who stepped in on a later date, is doing a phenomenal job.
As long as we're on it, let's talk about the cast a little bit. You have how many people involved, all told, or guests?
38.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we talked before the program, a lot of kids in the production, which is kind of neat too.
Yeah, we got about 20 kids in that production, which is really great. And a great support staff with stage managers and crew and kid wranglers that are parents that are part of the production. So it's really coming together very nicely, well organized.
All right. If you can, from memory, talk a little bit about the principal players here too.
Well, Ryan Nielsen, he's Willy Wonka. Again, is doing a fabulous job. He's got a BFA from Millikan University in acting. Done a lot of work in the city area, then since has had 2 kids now. So he's actually living in Montrose and does work right here in Buffalo. So which is really awesome to have him with us. And it's kind of funny because the parents and the 5 golden ticket winners range between the age of 13 and 24, where there's these kids, some of these 8th graders from Buffalo have come in and just blew us away in auditions, and now have supporting roles, which is really great.
Yeah, it's amazing when you hear them and their age, and you know the role they're playing, and then you watch it on stage, and it's truly amazing the job they're doing. And that's hats off to the director for making those choices, and for these actors coming in and doing a really spectacular job.
And we want to work, with the community theaters in our area, with Buffalo, like I said, in Elk River, and actually our director directed Quilters here in Buffalo. So, which is really great as well. It's like we didn't go out and go, oh, we're going to just ignore the theaters around us here and go do our own thing. No, we talked to them and said, what worked, what didn't work, and so we're using those resources to make this happen. So,
and you started your casting when?
May. Beginning of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good little crunch there to get all of this learned.
Yeah, we
they had over 100. How many? Close to 100 that auditioned. So the auditions went really well, and
it was really great.
Really well attended.
And so they got their cast list, and it was amazing to see this production unfold because the production staff who bring exceptional talent to every one of those elements of theater. It's been fun to see them working in their pre-production meetings and their design and their layout and how they're going to do everything before our first rehearsal started. It's amazing how much was going on just before June 9th on our first rehearsal.
Yeah. How much of the show is music, percentage-wise? A lot of tunes in there.
80-20, I would think. I mean, it's 80%.
Mhm.
I mean, music. So it's really
Yeah,
sweet.
and it's really fun music. And
Yeah.
and some things that are familiar with it, and then some other music that's put in there. And again, the orchestra is how large?
About 12, 15.
This 12 to 15 piece orchestra.
Range from
that's-
student adults. Yeah.
And they do an outstanding job as well. That really helps to carry that along with the outstanding actors that are some wonderful singers. And
Oh yeah. And that was a big comment that's been coming out this weekend, is just saying, wow, I sat through that production and wonderful singing throughout the whole time, and the transitions of the scene changes. I mean, it's something you gotta get out and see, and we want people to understand that SOAR Regional Arts is youth and adults, because there's been a lot of youth theater, like Prairie Fire and FYCC and Community Ed in St. Michael, where it's sort of, they kind of had that children's theater aspect to it, but this is youth and adults, and so we want people to say, okay, that's something completely different, we gotta go see that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. The production opened up last weekend. Now this week you have shows on what days and times?
Our shows this week start on Thursday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. at St. Michael Albertville High School Performing Arts Center. Sunday, our closing show, 2 p.m. August 5th.
So we've got 4 more performances here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
We
we'd
had a
like,
long weekend.
yeah, and we would like to give away a couple tickets if that's possible.
Sure. Well, why don't we'll do that maybe at the end here. We'll get it organized, and then we'll
Okay.
announce for that too. So
Great.
that'll be good. Obviously you want to get through this and want to, sounds like it's on its way to a very successful first run here. In your discussions, what's been talked about as far as down the road? How many productions you want to do a year, and is it going to be all musicals? You're going to kind of venture out there with some other things too?
I think this year we've decided, we announced in our program that we were going to do Jungle Book, Disney's Jungle Book, for a children's sort of theater aspect to it, and actually Jamie.
that will be winter of 2013
Okay.
coming up. So yes, really excited about that. You look around and again, Terry mentioned that we're youth and adult. This summer show again is intended to be all ages. Yes, there are a lot of children in it, but and then kind of the idea is that we're looking at finding the timing. We're starting this year and looking at the winter for a children's theater portion of SOAR. And so Jungle Book has always been a show that, if you've watched it, is really I think it'll be very interesting to pull that off on stage, and we're really excited, especially after the auditions that we've had for Willy Wonka and all of the great families, the actors, the people that we're seeing. We know that we'll have a lot of support for that, people coming that want to be involved in that, and I think that we'll really be able to pull off a great show for that. So that's the goal for the winter. But we've looked at kind of all of the above. We've talked about wanting to have musicals, some different even cabaret type shows, showcase type events, as well as certainly doing a big production each summer that will probably typically be a musical that can just really bring people in and again give them a good quality show right here in the communities.
So we hope to be back next summer, not only with Jungle Book in February is our goal,
Yes.
and be back next summer with a full production of Music Man.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think a lot of the organizations, when they were getting off the ground, you don't want to bite off too much right away, because you have to kind of be ready for all of these. So maybe at some point, maybe a fall type thing too. And
Exactly.
yeah, so that'll be nice to sort of, after this production, to regroup. And if we do, like we announced the Jungle Book in midwinter 2013 here, then it'll give us that time to really plan again. Because that was what was so great about right now, is we had all this time to plan for the organization and the production.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned too, and maybe some listeners might not be aware of the fact that groups really have to kind of reserve the rights to do these productions well in advance. So that kind of plays into it too.
Very expensive to do that. I mean, you're $5,000 to $10,000 for these shows just to do it.
Mm-hmm. But also, you have to check with, as you mentioned, you have to check with to see if it's being done within a certain radius.
Make sure they're available to even be able to do it exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And so we do all that definitely prior to production.
Yeah, there is a lot. That's one of the things that, again, we've, in talking about this for a couple of years, it really takes that amount of time to even just get to this launching point, because there is so much of that. And then once you come and you decide, okay, we're going to do this show, then it's like, well, that sounds great. And I know there are many times where groups like ours will come and they'll call, they'll talk to the companies in New York or wherever they may be, and they'll find out, oh, that's not available. And so it can be frustrating as well. But there's definitely some long range planning that has to go into that. And when you're trying to put out your season, so to speak, you've got to be way out ahead of it. And there's a lot of and there are, again, as Terry alluded to, there it's not only the planning, but then there are upfront expenses with some of those things as well. So for a startup, it's definitely one of the big challenges.
Tough to get established. Just out of curiosity, I guess I've never heard before. Do the organizations that own the rights to these, that do the I don't know what would be the appropriate, is it lending maybe, or lending,
licensing,
right? Do they offer, what kind of support, if any, do they offer as far as how to put this production on? Or is it pretty much just, okay, here you go, knock yourself out?
Yeah, pretty much. But to back up, they'll send out the scripts, they send out the musical scores. They might even send out, on some productions, a study guide to help, create the relationship between the actors. Not all shows are like that, but I've seen more and more of that as we've been putting productions on. But and then they have all their rules. Make sure you don't take any pictures, video. I mean, they're very, very strict. And so we just, as an organization, you think out in St. Michael, you can videotape it. It's fine. No, we're not going to do that. We don't want to get nailed by some clipping service that might be out, from, let's say, Music Theater International, where this show came from, and they might be out on a little run someday and go, let's go check out that Willy Wonka, see what they're doing. You want to make sure that you're in order with their licensing, and that's that money. Most of that money goes to the Roald Dahl estate, for Willy Wonka anyway. So.
But that's part of this from the beginning. The professionalism and integrity, and those are all things that obviously those are things that are a big part of who we are as SOAR, and so that is what most companies will do, and you follow those licensing rights, and certainly that's what we're doing. But it's a big deal, and you definitely follow their rules, and they sometimes are very specific about even within the show. They may sometimes even say you may not make certain changes without approval.
Not taking too many liberties here. But it is interesting, though, and I think maybe for folks that maybe are listeners to the program, that maybe they take in a community theater production once in a while. It's an easy thing to kind of lose sight of. You don't really think about what goes into, especially for shows that have been around for a long, long time. I mean, gosh, some of these musicals have been bouncing around for 50, 60 years. But it is interesting that they're not public domain, and you have to, even on a local level, you got to get all of the ducks in a row to put them on.
And that's why pretty much at every production, that we've had so far, these last 4 shows anyway, we're sort of me saying to the audience, just keep in mind, we are a nonprofit organization, looking for donations. You have family members that want to donate, or business relationships that would. Anything, because it is so expensive to offer this opportunity to the communities.
Well, very good. Sounds like a great start to the SOAR Regional Arts, representing St. Michael, Otsego, Albertville, Rogers. I'm trying to do it from memory here. Terry Beaudry and Jamie Cassidy. And tell us about your production times and dates again for this weekend.
So we have this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. and Sunday at 2 o'clock